Hi, this is Kathy Goodwin, and today we're going to look at our fourth in a series of branding myths. Your brand is like a luggage tag. Here's where it starts. A client says something like, I need a clever name for my get acquainted calls. I don't want to call them discovery sessions like everybody else does. Or I have 3 categories of membership, 3 levels in my new program. I don't want to use the same old silver, gold, and platinum. I have seen clients take weeks or even months to focus on these issues, these very small elements, and try to brand them, thereby delaying their promotion, delaying getting their product out there, delaying their website. What they've done is confuse a brand with a luggage tag. When you're going on a trip, you have luggage, and more luggage, and more luggage, and still more luggage. And oh my goodness, I hope this one gets closed in time for the trip. But you've got all these pieces of luggage, and you want to make sure you have your name and your destination on every single piece, no matter how small. But when it comes to branding your product or service, and you're looking at the steps and the services you're offering your client and the levels and the modules, you want to focus on what's familiar. For example, if you're going to say this session is a diagnostic, people know that they're going to get a series of recommendations, maybe some fixes, but they're not going to get a full-blown set of solutions. When you say get acquainted call, your audience is going to expect something free almost always. They're going to expect that you're going to get to know each other. You'll introduce yourself and talk about what you can offer, and your client is going to make a decision about whether to hire you, and you will make a decision about whether this client is right for you. If you want to work with this client, you'll move into sales mode, and that's pretty much understood with a get acquainted call. A discovery session for most people is like a get acquainted call, except that you might offer a bit of insight. In other words, you offer some element of discovery for your prospect, even though you're still trying to motivate them to work with you if you think you're a good fit. And finally, a strategy session sometimes is free, but more and more we're seeing those offered as paid consultations, usually fairly brief, that look at the strategy, the overall picture for a business or a product or a service or a program. Familiarity means fast. That comes from psychological research, where researchers have found that when people are shown familiar stimuli, their brain actually moves faster and they respond much more quickly than when they're exploring unfamiliar stimuli. So what does that mean to you? That means that when people have to decode your program, you risk losing them. You've probably heard the saying, a confused mind says no. Well, I would add to that if people have to stop and decode and figure out what you're doing, I mean, let's say you have 3 levels, the marigolds and the roses and the geraniums, they're going to have to stop and think, what is going on? Which one is the higher one? What's the difference? Then you've lost them because they're stopping. And I would add that a slower mind becomes confused. And then you can move on to a confused mind doesn't buy. So use straightforward names or an easy metaphor. When I had my career site, I had a program which I no longer offer on that site, and I had 3 levels: renovation, rebuilding, and reconstruction. It worked in that market. People liked it a lot because most of them were homeowners or had been homeowners. And if you've been a homeowner, you're engaged in renovation, which means maybe touching up a small part of your home, rebuilding, which means maybe working on a room or adding a fireplace. Reconstruction means getting into the foundation with a contractor, and it's pretty heavy. So people could relate to that when I use that metaphor. It wouldn't work in all markets, and in fact, cute names can be a turnoff and a distraction. What's more important than what you name your steps is to clarify exactly what benefits are associated with each step and each program. So you might want to say the silver is for people who need X, while the gold is for people who need Y. In the career example I just gave, we might say the first level is for people who need just a resume touch-up or maybe a quick solution to a challenge they're finding on their current job. The next level might be for people who want to change jobs within the same field. Maybe they are ready to move on. They're not desperate, not in a hurry, but they want to move to a new career in a new job in this with a different company. And the third level might be for people who are ready to not just change jobs, but change careers and maybe relocate at the same time. Their world is about to turn upside down. So they need a larger program, a more intense program, and they recognize that. Be very clear on expectations for free calls, no matter what you name them. So if you're going to set up a Get Acquainted call, be very clear that you're not going to be coaching during that call unless you are. Be clear on what your agenda is going to be, on the structure of the call. Even when you have a paid call, it's often helpful to review how the call is going to go, what you're going to do, in what sequence. Are people going to bring their questions to you, or are you going to have a structure where you ask them questions? I have found that clients feel very reassured when they know just what to expect. No surprises is a good guideline to follow, unless you're going to offer extremely pleasant and delightful surprises that people really want and are ready for. So what are your next steps? Well, you can join me in an espresso fast results consultation. I call that espresso because, like a small jolt of espresso will jazz up a whole cup of coffee or even a whole day, depending on how much you choose. An espresso consultation is one of my smaller, more affordable programs that will totally transform your marketing or your marketing for a specific program or project. A Sales Letter in 5 Days is a newer program that I've created for anyone who wants to create a sales letter to promote a program or a service or a product, and you want to do it yourself, either because you want to get your hands on yourself, or maybe you're planning to hire a copywriter later and you want to know what to expect and how to work with a copywriter. But you will get a sales letter created within 5 days. It's a very interactive program. And finally, Branding Secrets, my free guide that you can download at any time. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you'll be with me on future calls. Have a great rest of the day.